In this house, in a quiet residential neighborhood, a series of brutally violent, horrible crimes have been committed. And yet the police and prosecutor in this town seem either unable or unwilling to draw the obvious connection between what happened here and Satanism.
What if? For good or ill, it's a question that all of us have asked. What if something happened? What if something didn't happen? Or what if what happened went some other way? Fortunes and lives can turn on that question. This is one of those stories. After somehow surviving over 6 decades on Earth, I've witnessed the potential consequences of what if. Sometimes it takes many years to realize the full scope of it. Like this one, clueless of the unimaginable potential truth. For years the question had been, what if I didn't escape that attempted nighttime mugging in Kansas City? But years later, further revelations changed that to something much more frightening. What if the stranger who attacked me wasn't a mugger at all? They were really good times back then. The late 70s and the early 80s. Soon after graduation, like a week later, our family moved to Phoenix. And soon after that, I left home myself and moved right back to Kansas City, there to forge my own life for the first time. I managed to get a job at Children's Mercy Hospital, an amazing foundation for the rest of my life. But what was important is that I usually walked to work. I had several apartments and homes, rentals, at that time, south of Children's Mercy Hospital. Because I worked the 3 to 11 shift, I would always be walking home very late at night, either close to midnight or soon after. One night, the night in question, perhaps 1980 or 1981, I was walking home along these dark residential streets, came up to a break for an alley or driveway between 2 brick apartment buildings. And as I passed, over my left shoulder I heard a noise and caught a glimpse of a large shadow. It was a man in what appeared to be a stocking cap. That's all I saw, and he was lunging at me, perhaps 10 feet away. I was startled, he scared the hell out of me, but for me, it was too late. Yet I still escaped. How that happened, I will reveal it later on in the video, but for right now, who is the Butcher of Kansas City?
Bob Berdella is a serial killer who tortured and killed at least 6 people. His crimes first came to light back in 1988 and made headlines across the country.
Bob Berdella was known as the Kansas City Butcher because he chopped up his victims and left them in the trash. He pled guilty to torturing and killing 6 people. He died in prison in 1992. For decades, he's been a dark chapter in Kansas City's past.
Berdella confessed to sexually and physically torturing 6 men here. But some believe there were more victims and hope digging up the house might unearth some secrets.
Life went on. I got a crazy little woman for myself from Children's Mercy Hospital until she fled on her own, but that's another story and I digress. And moved to Montana. Serial killers. Yeah, gave them about as much thought as unicorns. But I never forgot that frightful incident. Decades later, the internet arrived. And once that matured, it became an incredible tool for us to seek answers to a lot of old questions. Whatever happened to so-and-so? What were those song lyrics exactly? Or hell, let's get the same dang song previously unavailable half my life. Then eventually, the casual questions out of left field, triggered by a random thought, a comment, or a TV show. Likely due to a friend obsessed with crime shows, I once randomly checked for famous serial killers in previous states in which I lived. That was because I sure never heard of anything like that locally, anywhere when I was growing up. But then again, I missed quite a lot. And the Butcher of Kansas City? Are you kidding? When and where was... My blood froze. 4300 block of Charlotte? Richard Berdella's murder house was in the middle of my late-night walking route, and in the immediate vicinity of a place where I once escaped a stranger's attack. Time to look at Google Maps and clarify some residential details. I know you may not be able to see too much of this, but you could see on the other graphic. This is 4315 Charlotte Street, the murder house. I rented a house on 49th Terrace, which is right about here. I had an apartment right on 39th and Troost, right here. My first apartment there was somewhere in the Hyde Park area, around here. I also had an apartment on the 3800 block of Warwick, which may have been over here. Well, my primary residence at the time was on 49th Terrace, and I would walk this way north to the hospital, and you can see the hospital is a little bit west, so I would always also worked at where are you down here? St. Luke's Hospital as well is down there. There's a Hyde Park area in Rock Hill Road. Gillum. Boy, I had an apartment, I think another one in the Mansion District that probably was like right around Robert Gillum Park. I think right here. I would have to check old addresses. But when I would walk, I would always come through the plaza area and I would pick one of these streets to head up Children's Mercy Hospital, which is right about here. There it is, Truman. This is Children's Mercy right here. It looks like it's pretty far, but in those days it really wasn't. It was kind of a pleasant walk. Now I want to discuss the attack area. First of all, let's take a look at the murder house. I think this is the house that was rebuilt after they tore down the other one. But as you can see, it's a very open residential neighborhood, but very dark at night. And I also very much remember the brick and the stone of the building that the guy was hiding behind. But that was a long time ago. A lot of these houses are built on very large foundations, and they have brick walls on the easements. So I may have been remembering this. What was pretty intriguing for me when I was looking at this, I was looking for an alley, but I don't know if an alley exists. Let's go down to the next block. And remember, this is pointed towards the direction of Children's Mercy, so I would be coming up these streets, and I would randomly turn left or right just to change my perspective. And I noticed this. This is on the next street over. This looks creepily like where it was. And I notice on this next street over, this is what struck me. This right here. This triggers a lot of memories. I really believe that this could have been the place. looks like that as you come walking by, and there's a little dark alley without any lights where someone can jump out at you. And this is the block where Berdella lives. I thought perhaps there was an alley right here, and I don't see one indicated. But again, this is many, many years later, and sometimes those access alleys have been closed. Escaping the alley attacker was not my doing, but rather fate and fortune, providing just a unique tool to instantly foil mugger or serial killer, along with the miraculous unlikely circumstance to have been carrying the thing in the first place. It performed with cavalry timing. It wasn't mace, not a gun, nothing offensive at all, in fact. What saved me from robbery, assault, or eventual murder and dismemberment after weeks of sadistic torture was a casual gift from my landlord, a bulky portable police scanner of the age, left behind by other renters. Yet that was no magic shield. Recognizing the truth, a skinny 22-year-old, Berdella's target victim demographic, by the way, civilian carrying a scanner, it would not save me alone. Whatever assault awaited, I walked right into that trap. The man lunged. I ducked but was too slow. I saw gloved hands reaching for me as I stumbled over my own feet. Then at that critical moment, before I reached the curb, the attacker fled into the dark alley. I can only assume that whoever it was decided at the last second not to risk the chance of assaulting a real police officer. Thank God it was dark. The Butcher of Kansas City's reign of terror is thought to be from 1984 to 1988. That would be 2 years after the alley incident. However, many believe, including authorities, that other victims may have been taken. Others may be out there, and who's to say he didn't have an earlier start? Perhaps I was the failed attempt that changed his MO. Or it was completely unrelated. The coincidences are chilling. It's enough to make you ask, what if?
Just a bunch of earth is all that's left of 4315 Charlotte. But some people will never forget the house nor the man who lived here. Bob Berdella, Kansas City's most infamous serial killer, is dead. He died in prison after his victims were killed in his home. Berdella confessed to sexually and physically torturing 6 men here. But some believe there were more victims and hope digging up the house might unearth some secrets. That's why millionaire Dell Dunmeyer, who owns the property, had workers carefully tear it down. Private Detective Ashley Hearn was here in 1988 when the truth came out, and he's been here for the past 5 weeks, making sure no other bodies turned up. He says the stairs to the basement will be saved, as well as this drain, reportedly used to carry away the blood of Berdella's victims. Well, this appears to be the final chapter of the Berdella story, and no one could be happier than those who live on either side.